Bro, we're finally winning. We're finally winning them over. The Bitcoin bros are finally winning.
I think the communists have like a very strong argument now of like, yeah, fuck it. Like, let's just seize the boomers' property, redistribute it to the youth because like they fucked us over. We'll never fucking touch Social Security. We'll never get entitlements. They're just handing out willy-nilly Medicare to everyone except for the youth. So yeah, like, fuck it. That's when you get somebody in the far right being like, hey, they're going to kill all you guys if you don't give me radical power. So you can either sign up here or get executed by the communists. Which one?
And he's absolutely right. People are going to go turbo extremes. What I'm concerned about is the ensuing chaos because we have so many things that are converging at once. It's like, I think Mamdani represents something much larger. I think that Charlie Kirk getting assassinated, he was gatekeeping the anti-Israel stuff within the right. And I think this represents a huge victory for the left. And everything has absolutely fallen apart because there's nobody there to try to incorporate those positions into the dissident right. Trump was supposed to fix this and he was supposed to keep it all together. He's failing. God help me, but I'm going to play this Bitcoin bro clip.
Bro, we're finally winning. We're finally winning them over. The Bitcoin bros are finally winning.
I think this guy is totally right. Yeah. Let's play Why the Young Are Going Turbo Extremist.
Here we go.
And like,
612.
So that Bitcoin has a real opportunity to free us from the endemic rot that like is the fiat system. And I like drive people around me crazy by like constantly commenting on the societal ills that fiat has created. And you can just see that metastasizing effect across society. And at this point in America, like I highly expect in the next 5 years, it's fascism or communism. It's like one of the two choices. And that's just a result of a broken money system. And it's really interesting to like watch America become like the Wiemeyer remix of like 2030s, you know, and like that's what we're gonna get. And it's pretty scary because also like the communists have like a very strong argument now of like, yeah, fuck it. Like, let's just seize the boomers' property, redistribute it to the youth because like they fucked us over. We'll never fucking touch Social Security. We'll never get entitlements. They're just handing out willy-nilly Medicare to everyone except for the youth. So yeah, like, fuck it. Let's just have a full-on communist party. Start seizing wealth across the board, start executing VCs, it'll work great. And at that point, that's when you get somebody in the far right being like, hey, they're going to kill all you guys if you don't give me radical power. So you can either sign up here or get executed by the communists. Which one?
Okay, so I don't think that Bitcoin is going to be our savior, but he makes a very good point about the mentality of the youth and how they're going to find solutions in their, especially economic hopelessness. And he's absolutely right. People are going to go turbo extreme. So my question to you guys, I mean, I think Cameron is right. I think we got to kill the patient. That's the real solution. You don't triage, you say, fuck it. You just slit the patient's throat, invest in something, invest in some baby that, is in better health. All right. But I worry about all this frenetic, chaotic energy that is going to come out of the convergence of all of these things. I'm a little worried that this is happening too fast. So what do we do with that energy? What do we do with the youth? How do we kind of streamline all of this energy that they have into something that's positive, that is going to build a sustainable and lasting future for all of our children?
Do you want me or
who wants to go first?
Go ahead, Dave. You go first.
Well, I've got a couple of things on this, right? And so, I've been making a very strong argument. I will continue to make a strong argument for why participating in the upcoming primary is very important across the country for people to get into PC parts.
God help me.
Because of what some of the things that Cameron says, like this idea of spontaneous reorganization. Well, the country is currently geographically marked in precincts. So the goal is to find one person in every precinct across the entire country that understands what the fuck is happening in this country. And that can form the support, that can form the basis of some sort of successive government, right? People that are aware, they're politically connected, they know what's going on, they know who the sheriff is, that they can step in.
Fine, whatever.
It's a good thing to know who your neighbors are, to try to be involved locally. But yeah, as far as stopping this, there is nothing that can stop it. And as Cameron was talking, and I'm not answering your question, I apologize. You might have to ask me again. But as Cameron was talking, I've been reminded, talking about the East, talking about Buddhism, I'm reminded of something that's definitely very, Catholic, and is going to piss everybody off, but I'm going to go off about this. Back in like 1973, Our Lady appeared to Sister Agnes Sasagawa, a nun that was in a monastery in Akita, Japan. And she came to talk about a great chastisement that was coming. And part of it reads, "As I told you, if men do not repent and better themselves, the Father will inflict a terrible punishment on all of humanity. It will be a punishment greater than the deluge, such as one will never have been seen before. Fire will fall from the sky and wipe out a great part of humanity, the good as well as the bad, sparing neither priests nor faithful. The survivors will find themselves so desolate that they will envy the dead." I kind of see that. I see that coming. That's kind of where I'm at. And it doesn't make me black pill. It doesn't make me
What are
want
you
to give
talking
up.
about? That's the most bleak thing I've ever heard in my life.
Sure, it's bleak, but you still got to try, right? Like, what if you're one of the what if you're one that survives, right? Then it's on you to rebuild society. It's on you to have kids, to teach them, to raise them, and to rebuild from the ashes of this whole thing. And the thing that's like super interesting about this is that it dovetails into another Catholic prophecy that happened in 1917 called Our Lady of Fatima, which I don't know if anybody that watches this podcast even cares. But Our Lady came to
Everybody knows about Our Lady of Fatima, right?
Not everybody.
Really?
Most people don't know, actually. But Our Lady came to 3 shepherd children and said that various nations would be, quote, annihilated if Russia didn't, if we didn't stop Russia from spreading her errors. And of course, the error is communism. The error is godlessness. The error is Judaism. The Judaism that infected Russia and spread all throughout the West as a result of the Bolshevik Revolution in 1917. I view all of these things and our current problem as intimately connected. And with what we've talked about with Cameron about the collapse of the financial markets and all of this stuff, humanly speaking, we're fucked. Yeah. Humanly speaking, yes, the situation is totally fucked. But like at the same time, I don't know. Maybe there's just something wrong with me where I just don't give up.
Okay, even zooming out, not from a Catholic standpoint, the reason that people are drawn to Catholicism and religion in general is that it makes sense of the limiting condition of being human, and it makes sense of our suffering and things like that. So, I mean, a lot of what you're talking about is just that baked into the cake of life is the destruction, is the death, is the sadness, is the sorrow. And that's what all prophecies discuss.
Sure.
I mean, but we have to continue to try. I mean,
I totally agree.
No matter how bleak things get, we have to keep trying.
I totally agree. But the case that was made on that was What Bitcoin Did, I think was the name of the podcast with Marty Bent and a couple of other people. When you listen to that whole podcast, it's like an hour long. When you listen to the whole thing, they lay it out over and over and over again. The youth of this country don't have anything.
They've got nothing.
And this is something that was drawn into stark relief at this conference that I went to, this weaving conference over in Oregon over the weekend. The vast majority of young kids that came that are afraid of what's about to happen to our country, the takeover, the mass migration, all this stuff. These kids come together. They're renting. They're being squeezed out. They're being replaced by H-1B.
Cameron, do you ever doom scroll? I bet not. But Cameron has probably totally eliminated
Look
his
at his
doom
face.
scrolling.
It's like, what's doom scrolling?
But lately there have been, and we talked about this a little bit on the show like 6 months ago, but there have been all of these TikToks of people like sitting in their car crying, talking about how they can't make rent. And I've seen this on Twitter over the last week, and the comments on these I just can't believe, like, I had to work 2 jobs and you need to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. It's just every single comment is something like that. Like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, go spend money on avocado toast. These people do not understand what it's like to have no economic future, because back in the day you could work 2 jobs, but at the end of that you would be able to afford a home. You would have some kind of financial security. You'd be able to have a family. We're having people do all of this stuff and see nothing.
And not only that, but then we're having our leaders coming out on television talking about we're not doing enough for Israel.
Right,
and it's like you get free socialized fucking healthcare in Israel.
Like, what about
you get
our
free
people?
abortions in Israel. You get free transgender surgery in Israel. What are we getting in America?
And think about what this does to the psyche of young people and what it does to their relationship with their own lives and the potential lives of their children. If they're not economically viable in future, imagine how drastically that would change the course of your life. Because if you're a compassionate person, you're going to be like, I can't bring children into this situation that I'm in. I can't even keep myself afloat.
See, that was my thought process when I was in college.
Yeah.
My thought process, I was totally antinatalist. I was like, you know, why would anybody bring a child into this? My thought process now is like, I'm going to build a little fucking army.
Yeah.
And I'm going to teach them what I know.
Right.
And God forbid we go through a war and nations are annihilated and the living envy the dead. And if we're somehow the living, then they're going to know what's
Totally.
up.
And racial awareness
rebuild.
also helps you on this perspective, because if you look around, let me tell you who doesn't give a shit about being poor and having kids.
Indians.
Oh, and Mexicans and
Indians,
Black people.
Mexicans,
Like no one cares but white people. Anyway.
See, if I repeat it with a whisper, then maybe somebody will care.
Anyway, Cameron, do you want to get in there? Sorry, we totally hijacked that.
Look, you guys gotta invert the frame, right? What you're saying when you use this term chaos means instability, but it also means opportunity. Opportunity for what? So it's not just that our country, you know, and when I say our country, let me be very clear. As I've said before, the United States circa 1960, you could say a little bit earlier, you could say a little bit later, we embarked on a fundamentally different path. And that path was basically to create a pluralistic society, a multi-racial welfare state. And it was stitched together based on the largesse of white wealth that has carried, for the most part, the Black population in this country, and now the Latino population, and God knows what else, based on the largesse of that wealth and the institutionalization of our guilt. And that process has expanded and expanded and expanded, and now we're exhausted because the state has been completely turned against us. This is why I talk about the social contract breaking. That's why this is not really about Israel. Israel is a part of this. They're not the epicenter. The epicenter is the broken social contract. And what is a social contract? Social contract at its basic core is that the government, the authority, right, the state represents the people. It represents the ethnos, in our case, the citizenry, and that there is a profound, a legal, a mystical, spiritual difference between a citizen and a non-citizen. That distinction has dissolved. Now there is no distinction. You heard it from the president earlier on the podcast. We need this foreign group. Imagine any other country outside of the Western world saying, well, we need this, that, and the other. No country would say such a thing. They might have a limited program that brings in skilled labor. That will not confer citizenship upon you. It will not grant you property rights. It will not make you a citizen in the same way as everybody else. That's the social contract. And ours has been broken. And when a social contract is broken, that means that the state authority itself, I don't care whether it's called the Constitution or it's democracy, you know, or it's the government of the founders, who cares? That's all bullshit. When that government ceases to represent the citizen and protect spiritually, legally, metaphysically, and otherwise, that difference between the citizen and the non-citizen, that social contract has broken. However, that's a very good thing, because that means that the state can be discharged and we can create a new state. And that's what we're going to do, which is what I've talked about, a reintegration. The white population is going to spontaneously reorganize itself in this vacuum that's coming. Why are we going to do that? How do I know that? Because we've done it our entire history. That's the nature of our entire economy. Whether you look at a store, I don't know if you guys have gas stations called Sheetz in Idaho.
Oh, we have them in
they're
PA.
all over the country.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Sheetz started in Pennsylvania.
Yep.
It's a dairy store. And then eventually it evolved into what it is today. Okay. Where it's a convenience store, it's a gas station, it's all of these things together. It's a restaurant. How did that happen? Spontaneous organization. What about Bank of America? How did that get started? That got started because of an Italian immigrant out in California. It was originally called the Bank of Italy, and it was basically furnishing loans to Italian immigrants who couldn't get them anywhere else. But that's not when the opportunity came. The opportunity came when there was an earthquake that struck San Francisco. And the enterprising Italian immigrant who ran the Bank of Italy, he kept his bank open during the earthquake and gained a whole bunch of new clients, which he then used to expand Bank of America into
really?
a national
I didn't know
company.
that.
Yeah. a
Spaghetti
national
nationalism wins.
franchise bank. Okay. How did he do that? During crisis. I've talked about similar vignettes from the Second War or from the Great Depression, right? These things have happened. This is the nature of the white population, not just in the United States, but across the West. Why do we do what we do? Because archetypically, we demand order. We don't tolerate instability. We don't tolerate the chaos. We won't digest it. We will demand a restoration of order. Now, this brings me to the resolution of all of this. You heard what this guy in the podcast said a moment ago. Oh, it's communism or it's fascism. Look, part of the problem that bedevils people on the right, particularly in the online right, many of whom are very smart people who have done an excellent job diagnosing the problems that beleaguer us. The Jewish power structure, the banking system, right? Zionism, multiracialism, open borders, all of these things, despiritualization, all of these things are accurate. What's the prognosis? What is the actual solution? Well, it's not to look at the past. And what bedevils us is a lack of imagination. And imagination is a second cousin of faith to some degree. A faith, a confidence that we're going to construct new things. This is why I've mentioned Bitcoin before. And I know Dave is even more evangelical about it than I am. Bitcoin is a new technology. It is something new, something different. We've never had anything that can disintermediate financial enterprise before. We've never had social media, online community, and connection the way that we have today. These are radically new innovations that enable us to scale movements and reorganize ourselves in ways that cannot be contained, in ways that can bring down governments. For Christ's sakes, we just saw a president elected in 2016 without any media support, with virtually no grassroots organization. Why? Because of people like Dave Riley and Rebecca Hargraves. This is the future. This is where we are headed. We're going to have to reimagine the way that we organize, but we know that the state as structured is broken, and we're going to have to reorganize it. We're going to have to reconstruct it. Yeah, it's going to be messy. It's going to be a violent correction. There's no question about it. But ladies and gentlemen, that's why we have all of these men that are 40 and under sitting around wondering what the fuck is the purpose of their life. This is it. This is what they've been waiting for. What the hell else are they going to do? Get a 9-to-5 corporate job where they slave away for some Indian affirmative action case who's going to take their job as the VP of sales at some point and get the corner office. So right before they get their 20-year pension. This is what's happening. No, that's not what these people are going to do. What they're going to do is serve as the rank and file of this restoration, this reawakening that we've talked about, which is why I focus like a laser on masculinity, and particularly young men who carry in their blood, in their psyche, the true consciousness of the nation. That's what's awakening. That's what Fuentes tapped into 8 years ago, 10 years ago when he got started. That's the direction that we must go. That is the key to everything. And Mamdani's election, Trump's failure, his disappointment, this is working in our favor because it is destroying faith in conservatism, in the notion that there's a moderate middle path forward. There is none. Our path is the way forward. Awakening is the path forward. Spontaneously reorganization and a restoration of order. That is the way forward. That's the way this is going to go.
That was so reassuring because I think I'm bringing a lot of feminine energy into the solutions. Like I do this with the show all the time. Like I have to have everything planned out. I have to know what's coming next. It's just the nature of women. So to hear a man say, we're competent and we'll find a solution and we'll figure it out. That just gave me like palpable relief in my soul I thought I was going to start crying for a second because that's what women want. They need men to be like, babe, it'll be fine. I'll figure it out. And we're like, oh, thank God, because I don't know what's going to happen.
Look, let's personalize this for the two of you. You know, you have this young girl from Missouri, right? She's pretty much a normie. She ends up in New York, right? She works in Wall Street in some way, shape, or form. She's in a disoriented mess. She falls into alcoholism. How does that young woman who's lost, who's meandering through life with no real guidance, no real infrastructure, end up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, married with kids, right? Living her best life, if you will. What about Dave Riley? More or less the same story. How did you two figure it out? If you were to go back in time and present a map to yourselves and say, this is the path forward, you both would have denied it. You never would have believed it, but it happened anyway because you both figured it out, and so will the rest.
Very true. I also want to say that there is a heap load of supernatural grace, at least in my story.
Yeah.
And probably for anybody that is, you know, I mean, I was in the middle of addiction, you know, basically dead. So.
And a hardcore leftist, right, Dave?
Very true. Very true.
Yeah, and I was
So
trying
how
to
did-
literally
how did you figure it out?
I was literally handing out copies of the Communist Manifesto at Occupy Boston in like 2010. Okay, true. That is true. It was like Saul on the road to Damascus. Total conversion of everything. Transvaluation of all values. Yeah, but I think it's yeah. What Cameron's saying is right, and it's happening more and more. I think that this. Maybe I'm just gassed up because I went to this conference over the weekend, but I think more of that is happening. I mean, like if I'm getting invited out to one of these things here in the Pacific Northwest, this has to be happening all over the country.
All over, right? Yes. Right.
You know, and I remember during COVID too, there was, you know, once a week there'd be a different church that would host like an emergency preparedness thing where speakers would get up on stage and say, "Turn off your Bluetooth, don't bring your cell phones, they're contact tracing you, blah blah blah," and all of that sprung up out of nothing when COVID happened.
Yeah.
Now it's not happening anymore. You know, I spoke at a few of those types of meetings.
Do you know what this reminds me of? We talked with Emily Yukas on Monday about the creative process and how sometimes you'll do something creatively that's just dog shit, but then the next thing that you do is like a little more inspired, and it's building blocks until your real creativity, like the thing that you're supposed to be working on, comes to fruition, and you don't realize it while you're working on all these things. And I think maybe that's what Cameron is talking about. Like maybe everything that we're doing right now, all the growing pains, maybe it's just practice for what's about to emerge.
Look, there is a beautiful Orthodox church in Moscow. Maybe you can bring it up on the screen, Dave. It's called the Cathedral of Christ the Savior. It's an incredible structure. It's one of the most magnificent churches I have ever seen. And I've seen a lot. You know, I've been to Florence, I've been to Paris. I've seen my fair share of incredible churches across Europe. And as you both know, I really enjoy Europe, so I come here as much as I can. That structure that you're looking at right there was torn down brick by brick by the Bolsheviks. They tore the whole damn thing down. And I don't have to tell you, Bolshevism in Russia was worse than any of us can imagine. Unbelievably bad. Okay. In the 90s, I have some friends who are Russian. In the 90s, after the fall of communism, the fall of the wall, and Russia was a mess for a decade after, for all kinds of reasons that we'll probably talk about in a future show. But let's just say things were pretty fucking bad. And forgive me for swearing, but it's justified because I think it was Dostoevsky who said Russia's job in the world is to show the rest of the world how bad it can get. Much worse than anything we can imagine. 30 years ago in the 90s, there was somebody walking through the streets of Moscow, and they were petitioning to rebuild that church that you just saw on the screen. And my friends who are Russians, they said, yeah, we'll give you a little bit of money, but you're not going to rebuild that. It's impossible. It will never happen. It's in ruins. This country's in ruins. We're finished. It's over. Well, as you can clearly see, not only did they survive, but they rebuilt it. Civilization is not just a building process, it is a rebuilding process, it is an iterative process. We are not so much in decline as we are figuring out who the hell we really are as a people. That's what this whole process is about, is a process of self-discovery. We are coming to grips with who we really are as a white country, as a white nation. And that ultimately is what's going to carry us forward. That's why we're going to, as they say, reintegrate with the state. We are going to enter a post-constitutional order that's going to stabilize this country. And I think we're poised to achieve even greater things than we did in the 20th century. I really believe that. We have that capacity within us. And this conflict, I think, will liberate that capability.
There is
It's
also
not just about the building, it's also the rebuilding, as you saw in that church. Sorry, Dave, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I was just going to add to it that with these prophecies of doom, right? The prophets of doom, as was it Cardinal Ratzinger, I think, called them, or maybe it was John Paul II. With on the one hand, the prophecy of the destruction of nations, living envy the dead type of thing. There is also a promise that on the other side of the conflict, there will be an age of 1,000 years,
Yes.
1,000-year rule of Mary, the triumph of the Immaculate Heart of Mary, which is, and it's also so, I've been thinking about this a lot because just like last week or whatever, the Vatican came out with this ridiculous statement that we should stop using the title co-redemptrix with Mary. And it's like, what are you, stupid? Like, as if giving her a title takes something away from Christ. And it's like, what do we need right now? All of the apostles left Christ. The first pope, Peter, denied him 3 times before he was even hung on the cross. And then you have one person in the whole world, Mary, his mother, who stood there at the foot of the cross, and she was offering her son in that moment. Well, I mean, imagine watching him bleeding, as he hangs there. And so it's like, oh no, we shouldn't give Mary that title of co-redemptrix. And it's like, what do we need right now in the church? What do we need right now in society? Do we need people that are going to flee and deny Christ and deny, oh, no, that's not, or do we need people that are going to stick it out to the bitter end and give it their all?
Yeah.
Anyway, just a random,
but
random
see, Dave,
thoughts.
that's exactly, but that's exactly the point, right? I think what you said is brilliant, because if the Catholic Church in its current construction, like the Protestants, right? I can't speak to Orthodoxy as much, but I'm sure they have their own problems. If these institutions are broken, does that invalidate the religion? Does it invalidate the faith? No, not at all. And if anything, exposing that corruption and purging it will strengthen the faith. It will strengthen the resolution of that spiritual awakening. It will improve the church. It will not destroy it.
Yeah.
And that analogy holds for the United States. Yes, the federal government is a mess. It's corrupt. Obviously, it's got subversive interests that dominate it, rogue agencies, and some kind of dark underbelly that I don't think we fully understand yet. I certainly don't. I don't know how deep that well goes. What I do know is that this chaos that Rebecca mentioned a moment ago, that will expose it. It will ventilate it to the world. And that means that we can extinguish the evil from below. That's what we've got to do. That will strengthen us as a country and prepare us for the golden age, as Dave said. That is exactly the point.
That's what we all needed to hear, guys. Thank you so much for that.